Hey everyone, welcome to Find Your Flow. I am Natalie and you're watching day 1 of Release, Yoga for Cyclists. But this practice isn't just great for cyclists, we are going to be opening the back of the legs, so the glutes, hamstrings, calves, as well as the lower back, upper back, middle back, shoulders, all of the space that we often hold so much tension. So hop onto the mat and I'll meet you there. Okay, so jumping right in, we are going to start lying down on the ground, but in a Supta Baddha Konasana, so reclined bound angle pose with the soles of the feet together and the knees nice and wide apart. So we're going to be here for a little while longer than we might normally spend here in a practice, so I encourage you to find as much support as you want to from your at-home props. I'm taking 2 bricks here. You can use your cushions, pillows, blankets, bolsters, whatever you have, just to find a little bit more support underneath the outer edge of the thighs and knees. So make sure you have your support, take what you need, and when you get down on the ground, notice the space around the lower back, and if it's arching all the way off, we're finding this big gap between our lower back and the ground. Can we notice this and tilt our pelvis a little bit more so our lower back is coming down towards the earth? And by doing this, we're helping our spine to find this lovely long alignment chain all the way from our tailbone through to the top of our spine at the base of our skull. And just relaxing the arms, maybe the hands come onto the chest, one hand on the heart, one hand on the stomach. They can come to the stomach space, both of them, or maybe the hands release out wide. Just notice where you are. Take this time to arrive in this space as we close down the eyes or soften the gaze. And we spend our lives breathing automatically. And instead, we're going to breathe here consciously and intentionally. First of all, just noticing the natural rhythm of our breath. How it feels when we breathe in and breathe out. Come to check in with the physical body and be aware if we're holding any tightness or tension anywhere at all, perhaps the shoulders or the jaw. Just releasing anything and everything a little bit more with every exhale. And now we're going to have a little play with making our exhale a bit longer than the inhale. And a bit longer than our natural exhale. So this doesn't have to be super long and deep. Still breathing naturally, but just playing with the length of our breath. And we're going to take 5 more full breaths, just like this. Inhaling and exhaling a little longer. And on your last exhale, return back to your natural breath. And you can keep the eyes closed or open them here as we send the arms all the way back behind us, reach away through the fingertips. And this time, if you notice the lower back wanting to lift off, let it. Option to stay here with the space between the palms, or interlace the hands and reach them away. Wherever we are, taking a nice big inhale in through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. And release the arms, using them to bring the knees back together. Everybody open the eyes as we hug the knees in towards the heart space. Just rock gently from side to side. And coming back to center, bringing the forehead towards the knees, curling through the spine, taking a breath in and a breath out, releasing everything down, taking the feet as wide as the mat. And finding our windscreen wipers, so knees float over to the right. Right thigh rolls out, left thigh rolls in, and keeping this nice and soft as we come through center and over to the left. Gorgeous. 2 more times on each side. And the reason we keep our feet wide is so we can find a bit more space around the lower back and sacrum area. You might want to take them a little bit wider or bring them a little bit closer together than I am. Just really listen to your own body and how this feels for you. And whenever you've finished, we'll come back to center and bring the right ankle, crossing it over the top of the left thigh. We're going to come to find our reclined pigeon. So we might like to stay here, and this might be our pigeon for today, or we have the option to interlace the hands around the back of the left hamstring, lifting the left shin parallel to the sky. Both feet stay active. Be mindful that our head, neck and shoulders aren't creating this compression here, softening everything down. If we need to, bringing the left foot back onto the ground. And really sending so much love to this space around the right glute and hip. This is great for cyclists. I'm sure you're all enjoying this, whether you cycle or whether you don't. Just tap into your nice inhales and exhales here. One more breath. And then releasing left foot to the ground. Bringing the right leg and lengthening it towards the sky. If we have a strap, a tie or belt, we can bring it around the center of our right foot here, or just take our hands to the hamstring, the calves, the heel. Notice where you are and where there's space as we lift the right toes towards the face. And as we do this, notice if our lower back and upper glute starts to curl off the ground, releasing the leg as much as we need to so we can keep this firm rooting down. Breathing softly. And super important that we keep this nice generous bend in the knee so we aren't putting any compression and locking into this joint. Finding one more breath here before releasing the hands but keeping the leg lifted as we find circles through the right ankle in one direction and the other direction, just spreading through the toes. And releasing the right leg down, crossing the left ankle over the top of the right thigh. And notice as we come to our reclined pigeon on the other side, how one side might feel really different. So just being really, really present with our body. And if we need to take it a step down on this side, then do so. Or vice versa. So option to lift the right shin parallel to the sky, keeping the arms nice and soft. The jaw is clenched and just releasing this, keeping the muscles of the face relaxed. Finding one more breath here before releasing down, lifting the left leg, taking hold of the back of it wherever the hands lie. Again, being mindful to keep the bend in the knee and not rocking our hips off the ground, keeping them soft, even if we have to bring our hands all the way off and really work with just our strap here. Really take as much support as you need to and take the time to find this length. There's no rush. Nice, one more breath. Before releasing the hands and finding circles with the ankle in one direction and the other direction. Gorgeous. Then we have a couple of options here. We can either roll onto our right side and use our palms to lift us up into a seat, or we can take the hands to the hamstring. Choose your own adventure as we tuck the chin towards the chest and start to roll up and down the length of our spine. Taking as many rolls as you want to here. We're going to come to meet in a seat, lifting up onto our knees. Now, if this feels uncomfortable, we can instantly find some padding under the knees, either from doubling up our mat, or if we have a blanket or towel, then use this underneath. And keeping the toes tucked under. So again, if it's too much to sit straight back on the feet, we can lift onto the knees and take the support we need. So taking a nice breath in, a nice breath out, keeping this length through our spine, so noticing this long line all the way from our tailbone to our crown and softening the shoulders from beneath the ears. And we're going to float the arms wide and reach for the sky, gazing up if we can, moving slowly. And then releasing, coming all the way back down. Nice. 2 more times. On your inhale, see if we can reach the arms wide. Keep reaching and releasing as we breathe out. But take as many breaths as you want to here. This is just an option. 1 more time. This time staying here. Either keeping the space between the palms or interlacing and reaching the palms towards the sky. Keeping the shoulders soft. They like to normally creep up near the ears here, so really consciously releasing and finding this space as we take a nice breath in. And a breath out, releasing the arms, floating them down by the sides. Gorgeous. So untucking the toes, we're going to come back to sit on the feet, finding a hero pose. So notice here, if this feels good, then we could stay here, or we might like to explore a reclined hero pose. So we're going to take our feet by the sides of our legs and notice how our thighs come into internal rotation. So they're turning inwards towards each other. And we can take, as always, whatever support we need here underneath the hips. We might like to just sit here. And we're already getting a nice opening through the front of the legs, or we can start to come back slightly. So bringing the knees towards each other, walk the hands back onto the ground, and maybe this again is great for you. Awesome. If so, stay there. We might like to come back onto the forearms, or maybe we come all the way down to the ground. But if we come down to the ground and instantly our knees start to talk to us, our feet start to talk, our lower back starts to talk, just really be aware of this and take what we need and leave what we don't, coming to wherever we are today. We'll just find 1 more breath here, keeping this length through our spine wherever we are. And breathing out to release. Lovely. Well done, everyone. Jumping onto all fours. Wrists beneath the shoulders, knees beneath the hips. And exploring cat pose, so curling the tailbone down to the ground, arching our spine towards the sky, dropping the gaze, breathing in. Breathing out and rolling through the spine, tailbone lifts, tummy floats down. We lift our gaze forwards. 2 more times here, just moving with your own breath in a way that feels good. You might like to slow these down totally, or maybe speed these up slightly, finding this wave-like motion wherever we are. Keep pressing through the palms to lift out of the shoulder space. Nice, and whenever you're ready, we'll meet back. Tabletop, neutral spine. Walking our hands either out to the side or bringing the fingertips to face towards our knees. So we're giving our wrists and hands here some love as we very, very, very gently rock our hips back towards our heels. This is really a tiny, tiny move. Just breathing here, giving our forearms a little bit of love as well. Some areas that we rarely send a lot of love to, but areas that we use all the time. So finding one more full breath here. And releasing, just shaking out the wrists as we come back to our tabletop. And tucking the toes under, really spreading through the fingers, pressing away from the ground as we hover the knees off the earth, connecting to our center and to the muscles supporting our deep abdominals. So we're looking after our lower back here, because if we strengthen one side, we need to strengthen the other too. So just breathe here. Keep pressing through the palms and away from the ground. One more breath. And releasing, gorgeous. Taking one moment just to sit back on the feet, give the hands a little bit of love. We're also strengthening the wrists here, as well as finding that lengthened space. Coming back, tabletop, toes stay tucked under, floating the knees off the ground. We hover. Really find this connection to the center, and if it's whirling like a washing machine, that's okay. Keeping this length through our spine, nice. One more breath here. And releasing, coming off the wrist, just shaking it out, loosening through the shoulders. And coming all the way back last time. Keep the fingers spreading wide, wrists beneath the shoulders, knees hover off. Finding 3 breaths here. Notice where your mind and your attention's going. And on your last exhale, smile. Send the knees down, taking them wide, big toes to touch. Child's pose, releasing the forehead and chest down to the ground. And taking what support you need to in your child's pose. Really snuggle into this. Allow the shoulders to release, the head and neck to be really soft. One more breath here. Before lifting up, taking your time. Coming back to our tabletop, knees parallel. Then tucking the toes under, we'll sit back on the heels and reach the arms a little bit further forward as we press down through the palms. We'll float the knees off the ground, lift the hips up high, downward facing dog. Oh yeah, start to pedal through the heels. This is going to send so much love to the back of the legs and the whole back chain of the body. In fact, it spreads all the way down through the spine, through the shoulders. So really just listen to your body here. Can we keep this space between our hands and to our feet? So if we notice our down dog is almost like we're on a tightrope, can we explore this space? Remember, being kind to our sacrum and lower back. And as always, bending the knees. Your body loves you a little bit more every time you bend your knees. And from our down dog, we're going to walk our right leg into the center, our right foot to the center, and cross our left leg behind the right. And just keeping this bend in the knees and this length through our spine, just soften the heels towards the ground, but particularly the left heel. Breathing in. Breathing out, coming to center, setting back up, and then sending the left foot towards the middle of your mat, crossing the right leg behind. And then again, sending both heels down, but particularly the right heel. Breathing in, breathing out. One more breath. Before floating all the way back, feet come to parallel, and then walking the hands back to the feet, we'll find a forward fold. Releasing the crown of the head down towards the ground, rocking gently from side to side, hugging opposite hand to opposite elbow. So really allow the head and neck to soften. And we feel the ground beneath us through all 4 corners of our feet, each of our toes, each 26 bones of each foot. Coming back to center And as slow as we can go, we're going to step the spine and come to standing. So keep the arms hanging heavy like a rag doll. Knees stay soft. Keeping the chin in towards the chest until the last moment. Finding mountain pose, Tadasana, nice. Taking your feet to hips distance apart. Toes track forwards, knees over the toes. We're going to reach the arms wide all the way towards the sky. And then softening, chin curls towards the chest, rolling back down nice and slowly. Just giving our spine some love here. And in our forward fold, we can take support from bricks or our books, dictionaries, cookbooks, whatever we have. Or if our hands come down to the ground, awesome, you can stay there, listen to what feels good. And we're going to do what we did in our down dog, but in our forward fold. So right foot comes to center, left foot steps behind. Just finding 2 breaths here. Nice, then coming back to our fold, left foot comes to center, right foot steps back and crosses behind. Gorgeous, notice your breath. Doing some inversions here with the head below the heart, so really be aware of your inhales and exhales. Coming all the way back to center, planting the feet hips distance apart, head softens as we roll up to standing Tadasana, mountain pose. And from our mountain pose, we're going to take our gaze over to the right. And then down towards the ground. The chin softens towards the chest. And taking our gaze over to the left. And all the way towards the sky, moving in your own time. We're just circling through the neck. One more time in this direction. And then 2 more times in the opposite direction. Lovely. Keeping this really, really soft though. We can hold so much tension around the head, neck and shoulder space, as I'm sure we all know. So let our breath fuel our movement here. And whenever you've finished, keeping the chin tucked in towards the chest, and we'll meet here. Inhaling and exhaling, then lifting our gaze all the way forwards and towards the sky. Taking a nice breath in and breath out. Lovely, rolling down to the ground in our forward fold. Then walking our hands back forwards into a downward facing dog. Keeping the hips nice and lifted. Floating the left leg off the ground behind us to a 3-legged dog. It can just be an inch off the ground or a little higher if there's space. Bending the left knee, stepping it all the way forwards and bringing the back knee down, coming into a lunge. But we're keeping this nice and low today. So fingertips either on the earth, or we can bring our hands or our fingertips onto our support. So noticing that we have a nice wide stance between our feet here. And making it a bit wider if we need to. Also knowing we can pad underneath the back knee. So we can either double up on the mat or take our blanket or towel, whatever we have. And although we're keeping this low, we're still noticing the length through the spine. We're almost sinking, I don't like the word sinking, but we're almost sinking into the hip space here. So taking a little bit more time to give it a bit more love. Just send your breath to this space. And keeping the front knee over the front ankle. Notice if it's wanting to creep forwards and this is putting some pressure maybe on the knee or the ankle joint. And we found one more breath here before walking our hands either on our bricks or on the ground a little bit further back and rocking the left toes towards the face. So our right hip stays over our right knee, and we bring our chest down towards our thigh, bending the knee as much as we like to here. Lengthening tall through the spine, head and neck stay an extension of the spine. Nice, one more breath. And then releasing. Rocking all the way back forwards as we turn our front toes out. We're finding a bit of a lizard pose variation here. So we're going to keep our right hand maybe on our brick, block, the ground, our hip, whatever feels most comfortable, as we rock onto the outer edge of the left foot. And then we're just going to use our left hand to really gently put a little bit of resistance against our left leg. So just push into the leg really, really gently. And breathe into the hip flexors. One more inhale. One more exhale. Nice. Coming back to center and walking the left toes over towards the right side of the mat. Then softening the left knee down to the ground, finding our pigeon pose. Knowing your version of pigeon you want to take here. So maybe we soften onto the left glute and find our thunderbolt or cheerleader legs, where we twist over the front leg and release down towards the ground. Or we come to our full pigeon pose, where we lengthen the right leg behind us and walk our left foot out as much as we can, as much as feels comfortable. Remember, where you are one day might not be where you are another day. So keeping the spine long wherever we are. We're obsessed with this length in our spine, if you didn't know already. You can again find your support if you want to under the hands, or if we have a bit more space, we can come down onto the forearms. Be mindful not to just collapse and round in the spine here, and find some compression. Lovely. Finding one more long, lovely breath here. And then gently press away from the ground with the palms. We're going to come all the way back into a downward facing dog. So take your time to arrive there. Floating the hips high towards the sky, pedaling through the heels. Coming on to this on the other side, so right leg reaches off the earth. Bend in the right knee, we'll step it forwards into our low lunge, back knee on the ground. Taking the support you need either side of the front foot, keeping our spine tall and breathing here. Notice the front toes on the ground. If they're clutching onto your mat for dear life, so much so that they're turning white, can we release this and keep everything nice and soft? So although we're obviously using a lot of different muscles here and finding a lot of space in a lot of different places, can we keep this nice and soft and easy? And it doesn't mean it needs to be an easy posture, but just that sense of a release rather than that tension and that tightness. One more breath here. And on your next exhale, bringing the right toes towards the face, walking the hands back and releasing the shin, the stomach down towards the thigh. So bending the knee nicely and releasing. Notice where your mind and attention goes as we hold these postures for a little while longer than we might normally. So if it's instantly jumping to, oh, I'm not very flexible, or maybe even, oh, I wonder what I'm having for tea tonight, or I wonder what I'm doing tomorrow, can we really keep it focused on our breath? And if it does wander, which it will, just notice this and bring it back to this space with a smile and with an inhale and an exhale. Nice. Rocking all the way back forwards, turning our right toes out, finding our lizard variation. So taking our left hand wherever it lies most comfortably, right hand to help rock onto the outer edge of the right foot, and just lightly use this hand to press away. This is really, really great for the outer edge of the glute and the piriformis, the sort of IT band space. But don't worry if you feel it somewhere else too. It's great for so many different things. Finding one more breath here. And before rocking all the way to center, walking the right foot over to the left side, the right knee down, and coming to find our pigeon pose variation. So either our thunderbolt cheerleader legs or our full pigeon with our left leg long. Either staying on the hands or coming down to the ground with the forearms. Just notice where you are and breathe here. Lovely. Don't forget to smile. Finding one more breath. And then releasing into our tabletop first before taking the knees wide and softening child's pose. Finding one more breath here before lifting the hips, but keeping the forearms and palms down towards the ground. We're going to walk our knees a little bit further back. We're keeping the hip space over the knee space as we release our heart down towards the ground in Anahata Asana, or heart to earth pose. We keep rooting down through the palms and through the tops of the feet, sending some love to our lower back, our middle backs, upper back, this whole spine. The front body's getting a nice release, so just breathe here. Find one more breath. Before lifting onto the palms, and we're going to take our knees out a little bit wider. And instead of bringing our big toes together and our feet together like we do in our child's pose, we're going to open our legs so that our knees come all the way down and are in alignment from our shins down to our ankle space. So peek at me if you need to. And just softening our hips down towards the ground. Really, really gently here. In my house we call this a froggy pose. So enjoy this froggy and take whatever support you need to. If sort of this hanging here is a bit too much, we can use some support, as long as we aren't just sitting down having a little rest. And if we want to take this a little bit further, if we do have the space to do so, we can come down onto the forearms. Just breathing wherever we are. Finding one more inhale and one more exhale before slowly pressing through the palms, lifting the knees back towards each other and pressing down through the tops of the feet in our tabletop, rooting the right hand down to the ground, floating the left hand high towards the sky, and then threading it through and under the bridge of the right arm. We'll do this 2 more times, finding this fluidity as we open and release. Nice. Once more. And this time coming to rest the left ear on the ground. Keep the left arm soft. And we might like to keep the right hand into the earth or send it behind to the small of the back. Notice where there's space. And if we need any support underneath the head and neck, take what you need. You might like to close the eyes or soften the gaze here for our last couple of breaths in this juicy twist. Lovely. Pressing through the right palm, lifting all the way towards the sky with the left hand, and then releasing back, tabletop. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. So pressing through the left hand, reaching the right arm towards the sky, and then threading it through and under the bridge of the left arm. 2 more times. And on your third and final time, resting on the right ear, and again really being present with what you feel on this side, how it might feel totally different. Option to bring the left hand to the small of the back. Finding one more breath here before pressing down through the left hand, reaching the right hand all the way towards the sky, and releasing. Gorgeous. We're going to scoot the legs to one side, coming through to a seat, taking whatever support we want to underneath the hips. And finding a cross-legged pose, but with one foot in front of the other, so it's a little bit different here, and bringing our shins down towards the ground instead. And notice that you can take more support than I have, obviously just listening to exactly how you are today. And when we get here, we're going to bring our fingertips down onto the ground and then start to walk them a little bit further forwards. And maybe we just stay all the way back here, and that's fine. Maybe we come all the way down here, and that's fine. Maybe we come down onto the forearms if we can still keep this length through our spine and our hips rooting down onto our support from the earth. And wherever we are, walking over towards the right side. And back through center and over towards the right side. And coming all the way back. This time hands come behind us, planting down into the earth as we lift our hips off our support and towards the sky. Opening through the front body, taking our gaze back slightly. Shins down towards the ground, taking a nice breath in. And a breath out. Gorgeous. One more. Releasing back onto your support, crossing the opposite leg in front this time. Bringing the shins down and fingertips to the earth, walking them forwards as far as feels comfortable. Then over to the right, over to the left. Coming all the way back. Hands come behind us, pressing into the earth as we lift the hips off the ground. Lift our gaze, take 2 nice breaths here. And don't worry if the shins aren't anywhere near the ground. Just breathe into where you are and release whenever you're ready. Nice. Bringing the soles of the feet together, opening the knees out wide. We're finding a Baddha Konasana, so just like we did on the ground, how we started our practice, but this time in a seat. So bringing your hips towards the front of your seat, softening the hands on the ankles or feet, on the toes. As we lengthen through the spine, we'll keep lengthening as we soften our stomach towards our heels. So notice that rather than rounding the forehead towards the toes, and we think about stomach towards the heels. And we're going to find 3 breaths here. And on your final breath, take the hands away. So notice if you're just using the hands maybe to muscle into this, to get lower for whatever reason. So take the hands away and lift back up. Really nice. Sending the legs out long. Or left leg out long and right leg hugs in. We're going to come to a twist, and we have a few different options here. You might already know these. So left arm hugs around the right leg and the right hand comes behind wherever we are. But option number 2 is to cross the right foot over the other side of the left, or the left leg bends underneath and around. So wherever you are, keeping the length, softening the shoulders and breathing nice and deep. And we're exploring this twist through our rib cage and through our thoracic spine. So if we notice the head, neck and shoulders are really crunching back, maybe finding some compression and tightness here, can we release this? And with every exhale, see if we can explore our twist a little bit more through the ribs. Finding one more breath wherever we are. And releasing back to center. Sending the right leg out long, hugging the left leg up and in. And finding your version of this twist on the other side. Right arm hugs around. Left hand swims behind us. Right toes stay active. Finding one more breath here. Before slowly unraveling, taking away your support, bringing the feet onto the ground as we reach the hands forwards, curling the chin towards the chest. We'll slowly release our spine onto the ground as slow as we can go. Can we move even slower? Whenever we get there, taking our time to arrive, we'll take the feet as wide as our mat and just find a couple more windscreen wipers on each side. And whenever you're ready, coming back to center, hugging the knees in towards you, curling the forehead towards the knees, breathing in, breathing out, softening the head, neck and shoulders down, rocking from side to side. And coming back to center, knees open nice and wide. This is our last active posture of our practice. So kicking the feet towards the sky into our happy baby pose. Hands release onto the hamstrings, calves, or maybe the outer edges of the feet. We'll keep this really soft and fluid. Wherever we are, shoulders stay on the earth, as does the lower back and the glutes and the pelvis space. Maybe we explore lengthening one leg and then the other, maybe both legs. If this feels good, just really have some playtime. We're going to find 5 more breaths here. And on your 5th and final exhale, slowly release the hands and send the legs long on the earth. Hands rest wherever they fall naturally as we come to our final and most precious resting posture, Shavasana. closing the eyes or softening the gaze. Start to tune back into your breath. Again, making our exhales a little bit longer. And with every exhale, can we find even more of a heaviness in our physical body? Taking all of the effort out of each of our muscles, joints, ligaments. Notice where your attention is here. And can we bring it back to this space? If you set an intention for our weekly theme of release, I invite you to remind yourself of that now. And if you didn't, then I'm giving you here the opportunity to create an intention. It can be anything at all around this theme. It might be a physical release, an emotional release, anything that comes to mind. It might simply be, I choose to release. Or I choose to let go. And then coming back to our breath. Staying here for as long as we'd like to. Or if we have to boogie, bringing the palms together at the heart space if that resonates. And taking an inhale in. Exhaling to release. And I thank you so much for joining me here with the rest of the Find Your Flow community. From my heart to yours, namaste.